You begin to understand that everything that happened was not an accident. This person came into your life for a reason. You went through this attachment for a reason. You went through this pain for a reason. All of it was necessary for your growth. And as soon as you accept this, a calm appears inside you. You no longer want to return to the past because you understand it was just a step. You no longer blame yourself for holding on so long because now you know you needed time. You no longer fear that you'll never experience such love again because now you know love is not in a person. Love is in you. And this understanding changes everything. You begin to see the world differently. You no longer perceive loneliness as something frightening. It no longer seems like emptiness. On the contrary, it becomes a space for growth. You no longer seek confirmation of your value in someone else. You no longer depend on someone else's attention, recognition, love. You no longer fear loss, because now you know you can only lose what you're holding on to, and you're no longer holding on. You allow people to come and go. You allow yourself to feel, but not become a slave to these feelings. You allow yourself to love, but without fear and dependency. And that's when real life begins. A life in which there are no chains. A life in which there's no fear of the future. A life in which you no longer hide behind illusions, but see reality as it is. And this reality no longer frightens you, because now you know you are free. You finally understand that freedom is not a state in which you feel nothing, but the ability to feel without being hostage to your emotions. You can love without dissolving into a person. You can remember without getting stuck in the past. You can experience loss without letting it define your future. When you realize this, you begin to look at your life differently. You understand that all the attachments you held onto so desperately were actually a reflection of your inner fears. You feared loneliness and therefore sought someone to save you from it. You feared being rejected and therefore clung to those who didn't value you. You feared not being loved and therefore tried to earn love. But love cannot be earned. Jung said that what we seek in the external world is always a projection of what we lack inside. You wanted to be loved because you didn't love yourself. You wanted to be valued because you didn't see your own value. You wanted someone to make you happy because you didn't know how to be happy alone. But true love begins when you stop seeking it outside, when you understand that no one can fill your emptiness except you. You realize that the person you held onto so tightly was actually just a mirror. They simply showed you the parts of yourself you didn't want to see. And now that they're gone, you can finally meet yourself. This is the most difficult but most important moment. You're left alone with your fears. You see all your weaknesses, all your insecurity, all your pain. You can no longer run from yourself, and this is frightening. But this is where true healing begins, because you're no longer filling your emptiness with someone else's presence. You're no longer distracting yourself with new relationships, illusions, hopes. You look into yourself, and for the first time in a long time, you begin to see who you really are. You understand that you're not your attachments. You're not your fears. You're not your pain. You are much more. You're a person who experienced loss but didn't break. You're a person who went through pain but didn't lose the ability to love. You're a person who thought you couldn't live without someone but learned to be happy in solitude. And this realization changes everything. You stop fearing loneliness because now it no longer seems like emptiness. You no longer fear that someone will leave your life because you know everything that's truly yours will stay with you. You no longer fear loving because now you know love is not attachment, not fear of losing. Love is freedom. Freedom to be yourself. Freedom to allow another to be themselves. Freedom to live without fear of loss. When you reach this state, you begin to attract completely different people into your life. Those who love not because they're afraid to be alone. Those who value you not for something, but just because. Those who choose you consciously, not out of fear, because you yourself have become such a person. Jung said that our inner world creates our outer world. If there's emptiness inside you, you'll seek someone to fill it. If there's fear inside you, you'll attract people who intensify it. If there's pain inside you, you'll again and again encounter situations that make you suffer. But if there's love inside you, freedom, awareness, you'll create such a world around you. You'll no longer attach yourself because now you know no one can belong to you. You'll no longer fear losing because now you know you can only lose an illusion, not love. You'll no longer depend on someone else's presence because now you know everything you need is already within you. You are free, and this freedom is not about closing yourself off from the world, not about not letting anyone into your life, not about refusing feelings. This freedom is about no longer fearing to love, but loving differently, not clinging, not waiting for someone to make you happy, not fearing that you won't be chosen, but simply being yourself, being in the moment, being alive. And when you begin to live this way, everything around you changes. You no longer perceive love as a struggle. You no longer worry if someone leaves. You no longer spend your energy on fears. You simply live. And for the first time in a long time, you feel that this is real life. You begin to understand that life was never against you. Everything that happened was not punishment, not cruelty of fate, not injustice. Every separation, every loss, every unrequited love, all of it was part of your path. You think you lost someone, but in reality, you found yourself. You think you were rejected, but in reality, you were freed. You think your love was in vain, but in reality it taught you what true love is. Jung said that we don't lose people, we lose illusions. And this is the most valuable thing that can happen to us, because when you lose illusions, you gain reality. And reality, no matter how hard it may be, always frees you. You're no longer trying to return what's gone. You're no longer trying to change what already happened. You're no longer wasting your energy on what you can't control. You simply accept. And this acceptance is not weakness, it's strength. It's the strength to look truth in the eyes and say, yes, this is how it is, and I'm ready to move forward. This doesn't mean you've become indifferent. It doesn't mean you've stopped caring. It doesn't mean you've closed your heart. It means you've learned to distinguish between what's worth your energy and what's not. You've learned to let go of what doesn't serve your growth. You've learned to focus on what truly matters. And what truly matters is you, your inner peace, your freedom, your life. Because every moment you spend holding on to the past is a moment you're losing your future. Every thought you give to someone who's already gone is energy you're taking away from yourself. Every tear you shed over what no longer exists is a tear you could have used to water new beginnings. Jung said that a person becomes free when they stop fighting with what has already happened. This doesn't mean you should forget or pretend it didn't hurt. It means you stop allowing this pain to control your life. Imagine a river. Water in it always flows forward. It never returns backward. You can try to hold the water, you can build dams, you can even try to reverse the flow, but sooner or later you'll get tired, because the river will still flow forward. That's how life works. When you realize this, you stop fighting. You allow the river to flow. You stop holding on to people, onto emotions, onto the past, because you understand everything in life comes and goes. And that's when true freedom arrives. But freedom is not just the absence of attachment. It's also responsibility. Responsibility for how you'll manage your new life. You can no longer hide behind your feelings. You can no longer justify your pain. You can no longer blame others for what's happening inside you. You're completely responsible for yourself. And this is frightening, because now you need to look within yourself. Now you need to admit that this person you clung to so desperately was actually a reflection of your inner fears and desires. Now you need to understand why you chose them, why you allowed them to enter your life so deeply, why you gave them so much power over your emotions. This is painful realization, but it's necessary. Jung said that everything that attracts us in others is a reflection of ourselves. We don't fall in love with a person, but with what they awaken in us. We don't cling to them, but to the feelings they evoked. And when you understand this, you begin to ask the right questions. Not, why did they treat me this way? But why did I allow this to happen? Not, why don't they love me? But why can't I let go? Not, why did they leave? But, what does this teach me about myself? This is the moment when you begin to unpack your deep fears. You begin to see that your attachment wasn't really about love, but about the fear of being alone. You begin to understand that you didn't lose love. You lost an illusion. You begin to realize that this person wasn't meant to fill your life, but to show you where you're empty inside. And that's when true transformation comes. You stop seeking love outside because you begin to find it within yourself. You stop depending on approval because you realize your value. You stop fearing loneliness because it no longer seems like emptiness. Loneliness becomes a space for growth. You begin to feel the taste of life. You begin to take interest in new things. You stop waiting for someone to make you happy and start doing it yourself. You learn to be free. But this freedom doesn't mean you'll never attach to anyone again. It doesn't mean you'll become indifferent, cold, detached. On the contrary, it means that now you'll love consciously. You won't hold on to people out of fear. You won't try to keep someone who wants to leave. You won't allow your emotions to control you. You'll love not because you need someone, but because you want to share your fullness with another person. This is love without chains. This is love that doesn't pull you down, but lifts you up. Jung called this individuation, a state in which a person becomes whole, independent, free. This is a state when you no longer seek something outside, because everything you need is already within. And then, the most amazing thing happens. The people you once clung to so desperately stop seeming irreplaceable. You no longer feel that pain toward them, that excitement, that dependency. You look at them and understand, I no longer need them. And this is not because you stopped loving. It's because you no longer fear losing. You know that love is not in attachment. Love is in freedom. In the freedom to be yourself. In the freedom to walk your own path. In the freedom to love without fearing you won't be loved in return. And that's when you finally feel that you've truly let go. Not because you forced yourself to forget, but because you no longer need to remember. When you reach this point, inside you there's no longer that obsessive emptiness that used to give no peace. You're not trying to fill it with someone else's presence, not waiting for messages, not analyzing words and actions. You simply are. This is not a state of indifference, but a state of wholeness. You don't suppress feelings, don't fight emotions, don't try to drown out memories. You simply allow everything to be. You allow yourself to remember, but memories no longer cause pain. You allow yourself to think about the past, but it no longer pulls you back. You allow yourself to feel, but feelings no longer control you. This is what true freedom means. But this freedom doesn't come suddenly. It's not an instant awakening, not a flash of insight after which everything changes forever. It's a process. You learn this freedom step by step. At first it seems you've let go, but one random little thing, a song, a smell, a place, brings you back. You again feel that inner pullback. Again replay old scenes in your head. Again immerse yourself in what you thought you'd already processed. And here it's important to understand one thing. This doesn't mean you failed. This doesn't mean you're attached again. This means you're alive. You can't just erase a part of yourself. You can't delete an experience that was important for your path. But you can change its meaning. Jung said that the meaning of our suffering changes when we realize its value. As long as we see pain as something meaningless, it continues to haunt us. But when we begin to see a lesson in it, it stops being a burden. Everything that left for a reason. You no longer ask for love because you realized love given out of pity, fear, or obligation is not love. You no longer wait for someone to make you happy because you understood happiness doesn't come from outside. It's born within. You've changed. But most importantly, you no longer fear these changes. Before you thought losing someone would destroy you. Now you know you weren't destroyed. You became stronger. Before you believed that without this person you couldn't be happy. Now you know your happiness never depended on them. Before you clung to an illusion, afraid to face reality. Now you see reality, and it doesn't frighten you. You understood that everything in life comes and goes. People, feelings, circumstances. But the only thing that always stays with you is you. And therefore, the most important thing is the relationship you have with yourself. Jung said that until a person makes the unconscious conscious, it will direct their life, and they will call it fate. You made your unconscious conscious. You no longer live by old scripts. You no longer repeat the same mistakes. You no longer seek in another what was always in you. You learn to let go, not out of pride, not out of resentment, not out of desire to prove your strength, but because you understood holding on to what's not yours is meaningless. You no longer fear loneliness, because now loneliness is not emptiness, but an opportunity to be yourself. You no longer fear that you won't be chosen, because now you choose yourself. You no longer fear loving, because now you know love is not dependency, but freedom. You've changed, and now the world around you will begin to change too. You'll start meeting people with whom you don't need to play games. You'll start building relationships in which you don't need to fear. You'll start attracting into your life what truly resonates with you, because you've become a different person. And now you know, none of it was in vain. Every pain, every loss, every disappointment, none of it broke you. It made you who you are now. You became a person who knows their value, a person who no longer compromises with themselves, a person who chooses not fear, but love. And this choice changes everything. Because now you're no longer a victim. Now you're the creator of your life. You know you can't control other people's actions, but you can choose your reaction to them. You know you can't force someone to love you, but you can love yourself. You know you can't hold on to someone who wants to leave, but you can learn to let go in peace. You are free. And now this freedom no longer frightens you. Now you see in it not loneliness, but strength. Not emptiness, but space for growth. Not pain, but an opportunity to start anew. You don't fear, you simply live. You choose yourself. You choose your life. And this is the most important choice you've ever made. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel and like it. More deep topics ahead that will help you understand yourself and change your life. Thank you for watching.